So today, I want us to look at the subject matter of low sexual desire. What does that even mean? When a couple come to me and say, the husband is complaining, maybe my wife's sex drive is low, or my husband's sex drive is low, the first question I always ask is, compared to what? Because oftentimes when people are talking about low sexual desire, it takes root from how they learned about sex. So assuming I'm married to a partner who loves to have sex once in 2 months, and I'm okay with it, will I have an issue called low sexual desire? So you see that the major issue here is not the lowness or the highness of your desire, but more about the compatibility of your sexual desire with the person that you're married to. So I like to focus more, as opposed to solving the issue of low sexual desire, I'll rather find a solution to sexual compatibility. Now, when people talk about low sexual desire, another question that I like to ask is, how did you learn about sex? Are there people who have low sexual desire compared to the desire of their partner? Yes. The frequency of how they want to have sex, or their undesirability of wanting to have sex, is on another level. Now, the first question I want you to answer before we get into solving this problem is, how did you learn about sex? What taught you about sex? For some people, they learned about sex through pornography, and they begin to expose themselves to masturbation and all forms of other sexual practices. That first imprint on your brain forms your desire, your disposition towards sex. Now, if porn taught you about sex, you definitely know that you're having an unrealistic sexual expectation. What about if you're coming from a background where you've been told that sex is dirty? You have been indoctrinated into believing that sex is a filthy thing. You shouldn't talk about it. I had a couple that I worked with who, every time they had sex, the wife always asked for forgiveness. How ridiculous is that? But this is the reality of some people. And in that marriage, the husband began to struggle with masturbation. And this story that I've just shared, I actually did ask for their permission to be able to share it, even though I'm sharing it anonymously, because it's not my story to tell. And they gave their go ahead, because they are in a place of recovery now. The question is, how did you learn about sex? If you associate sex to be something sinful, you shouldn't ever talk about, then when you are now in a place where it has become legitimatized that you should have sex, having been given the license to do this thing till Jesus comes, your mind has been conditioned to see sex a certain way. So you're definitely going to have a low sexual desire. Another thing that I want to also add is that if you were exposed to your first exposure to sex was traumatic, maybe a rape, or it wasn't pleasant at all. The circumstances around it wasn't something that your mind was ready to receive, especially in the case of rape, is also going to affect your sexual desire. So you find out that the issue around sex, or problems surrounding sex, apart from medically proven cases, which I don't want to go into, are rooted in how you learned about sex, who told you about sex, what was your first sexual experience. All of these things have a way of affecting how you relate to sex. And when you have overstimulated your brain sexually by multiple sexual intercourses and experiences before you got married, that will also affect how you connect with your partner. Because your brain, there's something called the reward center in your brain, and it is what is responsible. That's where the dopamine rush and all that come from, right? So when sex is one of the brain stimulants, right? Now, when your brain is overstimulated, because you have overindulged in a lot of sexual activity. Now you're married, your ability to connect with your partner will be a challenge if your partner is not on that frequency with yourself. So you see, before you run off again taking sexual sex enhancing drugs, which are harmful to you, some of them, especially for the men, they have some medical problems that they bring with themselves, right? Things like heart attack. I did a video on that. You want to go and watch it, and why it's harmful to you. You want to solve the problem so that you can have a lasting, more fulfilling solution to the sexual challenge you may be having in your relationship. It may not be so much of a low sexual desire. It may be more of a lack of compatibility sexually with your partner. With that being said, if you're someone who has been exposed to pornography and has been self-indulgent for many years I suppose that's masturbation wise, okay, you may have issues connecting with your partner because you are self-reliant. You are okay anytime you feel horny, or you know how to satisfy yourself. That will affect how you connect with your partner. Your mind is the most powerful tool when it has to do with your sex and your sexual intimacy. I'm very careful about talking about sexual intimacy because what people call sex, a lot of things build up to sex. Porn does not give you the fullness of sex. Intimacy creates an erotic space for you and your partner where you can talk, where you can connect, where you can cuddle, where you can kiss, foreplay, where your emotions are connected, intertwined before you talk about having intercourse. That's the hoo-ha, okay? If you can achieve sexual intimacy, it doesn't always end up in sex, but when you can achieve that, having the sex itself becomes less of a Herculean task. So what am I trying to say today? Rather than looking for sex enhancing drugs, do therapy to find the root cause of your sexual problem. It may not be as is defined. And I always say, be careful who is teaching you, who you're learning sex from, because sex is such a powerful, beautiful, intimate affair that anyone cannot be teaching you sex. You can't be learning about sex just from anyone, right? Any problem that you're having with your sexuality that is not medically proven is most likely something that started with your mind. What you have been exposed to, what you tell yourself, how you learned about sex can affect your ability to be compatible or connect with your partner. And don't forget to subscribe, follow, share, because some of the tips that I've shared with you today may be saving a marriage. And I don't want you to be that person that denies this couple the opportunity to save their marriage. So do quick, click on the subscribe button and turn on your notification so that you'll be the first to watch anytime that my content is out there. I hope this video was helpful to you. See you next time.